Television Network, TSPN. And now, TSPN News with Tom Slivick. Comprehensive news because in today's world, you need more than just sound bites. TSPN, streaming on the World Wide Web, and now on demand at tspntv.com. Well, hi everyone. Welcome to TSPN today, and it's Monday. Tomorrow is a Board of Supervisors meeting, and I have with me today Supervisor John Plasse. Nice to talk with you, John.
Good to see you too.
Okay, and we're going to be going over some of the agenda that's up tomorrow. We'll probably hit on all of the regular agenda. Those are the ones that are discussion items, basically, right?
Right.
And so, John, why don't we get started a little bit? First up is the General Service Administration, a discussion and possible action relative to the jail project. So describe something that you might want to hear about, and maybe at the same time, like what do we think the new jail or the addition might be or look like or want to go to?
Well, the public may remember, Tom, that the Board of Supervisors was awarded a fairly sizable bond measure from the state of California called AB 900. But over the course of time, we determined that there was just no way that we could afford the county's matching costs to the construction of the jail that was determined to be needed, the 165-bed facility. And so in the end, we had to return that bond funding and go with a much smaller project. So what's on our board tomorrow is discussion and action regarding the hiring of the architectural firm that will help do two things for us, really. We need to arrive at a concept of what the jail footprint will look like. We're really not there yet. That'll be the part of the architecture.
There's not that much space, seemingly, like when we drive by or look at the area there. But what is the reason to keep the jail? It would just seem to me, it's for economics, but keep the jail in that spot and keep our old jail instead of building a much bigger one somewhere else.
Well, you said it, Tom. Economics.
Just can't afford it.
Economics.
So how much space do we have, John?
I don't know in terms of a square footage, but we have a facility now that's about 75-bed facility, and we're currently running in the 90s in terms of housed inmates on a regular basis. The county could be faced at some time with an overcrowding lawsuit, such as the state was subjected to at the state level. So we need to expand to how many beds we're not sure, maybe in the 110 to 120 bed range rather than the 165 bed facility that was proposed before. And we think we can do that most cost effectively by adding to the space at our existing jail site and utilizing all the existing infrastructure there rather than repurposing that and building a new facility, regardless of the amount of bond funding. And the other part of our discussion tomorrow will be the preparation of the documents, the grant application, because there is another round of funding from the state, SB 765, I think it is. Can't remember all the numbers anymore, Tom.
I don't know how anybody can anymore. The numbers and all the acronyms for
Right. But there is funding available for adding additional programming space and bed space for local jails, and we'll be trying to access that funding to help offset the cost of this project.
Okay, so physically we have the jail. Is it just going to be? Are we going to raise it up? Add to the?
We'll add to the footprint of it, probably going north for the most part in an area that the county still owns a piece of property there. But the main thing we'll try to accomplish is doing so in such a way that all the new regulations and fire and safety codes and a lot of things that have kind of gotten over the top, those will be applicable to the new facility, but we won't have to go through the cost of incurring all those costs in the old facility. In other words, a total remodel of the old facility.
So how will you do that? By building a new facility next to it?
Next to, but not connected to.
Okay, so it can't be connected?
No.
Okay, all right. Well, that's pretty interesting. Okay, so you'll be getting that information tomorrow. People that are interested will want to hear that or maybe chime in as well. Next up, we have County Administrator Officer giving a presentation which will outline the current budget. So I guess you're going to look at the mid-year budget.
Right.
Do you have any idea of how we're doing there?
Well, we're doing fine on our current budget, as established last year. We're midway through the year now. We're doing fine on that. This will probably be even more of a look into the future as to what we've already been told that we'll be losing in the way of funding. One of the key places that we're losing funding, once again, is our Public Works Department, our Community Development and Public Works Department, called HUDA funds, Highway Users Tax Authority, I think is what HUDA stands for.
Do those funds come from gas taxes?
Yeah, and we're receiving, this year so far, we've been notified that we're receiving $720,000 less going into this next year. That's a lot less money.
What's the total?
Total is only about $1.5 million a year.
That's like over
50% of it.
50%, right?
Yeah, and that's why I've been such an advocate, Tom, of better utilization of the funding that goes through ACTC, because some of that funding can be used for the rehabilitation and reconstruction of our local roads.
John, what is I understand that. So, what is the reason for the cut? Obviously the gas taxes, are the gas taxes to the state that much less?
Some of them have decreased significantly as a result of more fuel-efficient cars and the economic recession where people weren't traveling as much.
I knew that the state was going to raise the gas taxes, and I don't know the amount, but did that already take effect? Is that one of the reasons why the gas has jumped up so high in the last
We
month?
have had some gas taxes take effect, and sometimes the tax, Tom, is on a per gallon basis,
right,
and other times it's tied to the sales tax on the per price basis. So when we have a big price fluctuation, as we have here recently, if any of those quarter-cent sales taxes that are tied to that are going to decrease.
Well, what's so interesting is because, a lot of places were at a rush, or people were at a rush, seemingly, now we can raise the taxes because the gas prices are down and we need the revenues. But as we see in supply and demand, and everyone was saying that's not going to stay there. That cheap gas isn't going to be there.
No, it's probably not. And a lot of these taxes are based on a projection. The state controller's office does a projection as to what the state's revenue will be over the course of the next year, and so they project to us what we're going to have coming in. We've got to have that projection for the sake of our budgeting purposes. But it could change if we have spikes in the other direction, or substantially more usage on the highways. So.
I also think I heard it that the way that gas tax was kicking in, no one needed to vote on it. They've found a mechanism to vote for one time, and then after that, we don't have to talk about it anymore.
They always find a workaround, don't they?
Okay, all right. Okay, environmental health discussion and possible action relative to the ordinance repealing Amador County Code chapters. Now, we had talked about this a little bit. That's not too important. You said on the wastewater.
No, I think
services?
the public would love to know that their board is doing what it can to take old and inapplicable ordinances off the books.
So these are
fewer ordinances better.
County code.
Off of county codes,
ordinances.
Right. Many of them were adopted. I think what you and I talked about were adopted in 1899.
I think that's the next one. I got a kick out of that. I was going here we have that's a health department code also,
right.
7.04. Which was adopted in 1899. So I'm going, well, that was a pretty good law before we had talked about it. So boy, what happened to change this really good law? It was working for so many years.
Well, the state stepped in once again and enacted superseding legislation over the top of our county code.
Okay, over 1899. All right, so rest assured you're safe now. Rural County Representatives California, that's RCRC. That's like Chairman Brian Onetto. Is Brian the member now that goes to the RCRC meetings?
Yes, Brian is the county's representative to RCRC.
So he kind of took that over from Richard Forster?
Yes.
Okay.
The board appointed Brian in recognition largely that Richard has got a very full plate. In fact, I'm doing this here today because he's in Washington, D.C. at the National Association for Counties Legislative Conference.
He's the proof of a busy person can do more stuff.
Oh, he is. He's always going somewhere.
Right. Okay, and so I think RCRC does a great job for the county and for the other counties, small rural counties. And Brian, this isn't his first year, though, is it? Or is it?
This is his first full year, but he's been the
okay.
alternate for
Oh, there
several
we go.
years before this. So he goes to those meetings, and he'll be giving the board an update on some of the recent legislation that is proposed at the state level and what RCRC's voted position has been on that, and or in some cases asking guidance from his board as to how Amador County Board of Supervisors want their representative to vote.
I'm a little
at
curious,
the-
and maybe we'll get a chance to get this. If not, after the break, we got about a minute and a half. Like, how small of a county is a rural county?
You know, I don't believe that it's been subjected to population levels. There's some pretty good sized counties in there, but I think if they have
It's like, is Napa a county?
I believe they are a member of RCRC. If they have a preponderance of rural type activities, agriculture or public lands and that sort of thing, and they pay their dues, they can belong to RCRC. But it is a good organization in that it gives us very small counties a larger voice at the Capitol when our position is supported by RCRC.
It's really interesting that the government needs a lobby. That's also.
I guess that's basically what it is. It's a lobbying firm for small counties.
Yeah, it's like.
But it adds greater weight to an otherwise.
Well, because it pulls you
fairly
guys together in a kind of a union, also, right? Or just to
Almost.
speak of like-minded, interests.
Right. Right.
And look out for the interests. So some of the populated counties don't necessarily take the rural counties into consideration.
Oh
or-
no, we're getting run
I think
over
they
left
probably
and
don't
right.
think
Tom.
about us much. We're way in the back of their minds when they think things up.
Yeah, they really have little concern for the effects on small rural and mountain counties when they force through some of their legislation.
Okay, we're going to go to break. When we come back, we'll continue with Supervisor John Plasse. Stay with us.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.